สวัสดีครับ Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the TGMed International Workshop 2021 in President View of Complex Laparoscopic Surgery in-depth surgical video presentation. In this evening, we have Chairman, me, Dr. Pisut, and another Chairman, Associated Adapon Chaichun. In the first talk in this evening, we were talking about real-time ICG fluorescent guided surgery in gynecology, a novel technique for a safe routine. I will let Professor Adapon will introduce the speaker.
Yes. First, I would like to introduce our guest speaker. He's Professor Helder Ferreira. He is head of the minimal invasive gynecologic surgery unit of Centro Hospitalar Universitario in Porto, Portugal. And he is also a chairman of Young Endoscopist Platform of an executive board member of European Society of Gynecological Endoscopy. He is now president of the Portuguese Society of Minimal Invasive Surgery. And he is one of the head instructor of the European Academy of Gynecological Surgery. And he has tutored many training courses on dry and live tissue lab and cadaver dissection. Please give a warm welcome to Professor Ferreira, please.
Hello everyone. Thank you very much for the kind introduction and also for the invitation and the opportunity to join such an international meeting. In fact, I'm speaking from Porto in Portugal, a distance of more than 10,500 kilometers between us. But nowadays, thanks to this technology, we can communicate in real time and share our knowledge and experience to every part of the world. Well, my mission today is to speak about the use of ICG in gynecology. ICG means indocyanine green. In fact, as I will explain during my talk, is a dye that emits some fluorescence, but what we are talking is about a new technology that can really improve our life as surgeons and also can improve the patient's outcomes during the surgery. This is our dream always. We look for a kind of image-guided approach where we receive like aircraft cockpit on real-time information about where is the ureter, where is the disease, where are important anatomical landmarks. In fact, we dream to have some help during our procedure in order we get this image-guided surgery. That is any surgical procedure where we surgeons use surgical tracked instruments in a conjunction with preoperative or intraoperative imaging in order to directly or indirectly guide the procedure. Which are the benefits related to this? We have a greater control of the surgical procedure. We have a real-time feedback on the effect of the intervention, and we reduce the tissue trauma because we gain information and we gain precision during our surgical approach. We started to use this ICG technology several years ago. In fact, we started in our experimental surgical lab in 2011. We have done several experiences in animals, in particularly in swine live animals. And some years after, this was one of our first publications, the use of this near-infrared imaging system and ICG to identify the sentinel lymph node and to perform the lymphatic mapping. And these are the first pictures. This is inside the pig, inside the swine model, after injecting the indocyanine green in the cervix of these female pigs. And we became very happy in 2011, 2012 to get this lymphatic mapping. We were using one of the first systems available produced by Karl Storz in that time. But you will see during my talk the evolution that happened in the last years in the application of this technology. You see the small lymph nodes, and we were using mini laparoscopic instruments, smaller diameter instruments, because our purpose on that time was to reduce as much as possible the invasiveness of our surgical approach. Using this concept of sentinel lymph node, of image-guided surgery, and of mini laparoscopic approach, we wanted to be less traumatic, and we wanted to offer the best treatment to our patients. Indocyanine green, in fact, it was developed during the Second World War by Kodak as a dye for photography. It was tested at the Mayo Clinic for liver function and angiography of retinal veins in 1957, and it was approved for clinical use by FDA in 1959. You see, long time ago. It's a interesting dye because it is not metabolized in human body and is rapidly removed by the liver. And in fact, there is a fluorescence released by ICG that can be detected intraoperatively using specifically designated scopes and cameras without the use of the traditional radioactivity like technesio that we use for sentinel lymph node identification. We have published this paper very recently, the application of ICG in the gynecology. And in fact, we found in the literature review that we made several applications. Sentinel lymph nodes, probably the number one for endometrial cancer, for cervical cancer, for vulvar cancer, for breast. Also the checking of the bowel perfusion to identify the transection line that I will show you several videos to evaluate the quality of the anastomosis perfusion, because the bowel anastomosis leakage is one of the biggest nightmare that we can face in our surgical practice, namely in endometriosis bowel surgery or in an oncological approach like ovarian cancer. Also, the use of ICG fluorescence can be helpful to identify the ureters, and you will see very beautifully the ureters emitting the fluorescence. And remember that we gynecologists many times can have problems, injuries of the ureters. So if we have a system that tells us where is the ureter pathway, of course we can reduce the risk of complications. There are some works about endometriosis diagnosis, about deep bowel endometriosis treatment, and also some case reports about vaginal cuff closer perfusion. So this new infrared emission imaging system has expanded its surgical use in oncology, for sentinel lymph node, as I said, for hepatobiliary surgery is very helpful, for bowel tumors, for reconstructive surgery. For example, the plastic surgeons are using this approach by ICG more and more to check the vascularization and irrigation of the skin flaps, and it can be injected intravenously, and it goes, the ICG, into the blood vascularization, or it can be injected submucosally, and it goes in the lymphatic system and can be helpful to identify the sentinel lymph nodes. As I said, when injected intravenously, it remains confined to the vascular compartment, and when illuminated by infrared light source with a wavelength between 750 up to 810 nanometers, it emits a fluorescent light of about 830 nanometers, and this light can be detected with an adequate camera, as you will see. So the submucosal route, as I said, it goes for the lymphatic vessel, and we inject in the cervix. There are some discussion about where we inject, if it is at 3, 9 o'clock, or if it is at 3, 6, 9, and 12 o'clock. We in our center, we do at 3 and 9 o'clock in order to get the best lymphatic mapping. You see, this is one of our cases of sentinel lymph node identification after cervical injection using the ICG technology. Another example, this is the dye that we inject in the cervix. Another example, this is with the new Rubina system with the 4K Ultra HD image quality that combines the overlay mode, where you can very clearly identify the sentinel lymph node, and because you have a good vision, you can be more precise on your surgical approach, on your anatomical dissection. And if you pay attention on this video, you can see that we are just above the psoas muscle on the left side, and the left external iliac artery and the left external iliac vein, and using the proper instruments, the Hobby Keller as a bipolar, as a dissector, as a grasper, we can remove our sentinel lymph node in a safe way, in a very precise way, using monopolar energy, using also bipolar energy, but following the rules of electrosurgery, we can in fact remove very um, very nicely our sentinel lymph nodes. Another approach, and here we can, in this Rubina system, also choose between the overlay and the monochromatic. Monochromatic works very well for anatomical identification of the ureters, also for checking the bowel irrigation, as I will show you afterwards. The ureter, it's also, as I said, an important structure. This is a monochromatic image mode, and it's also interesting for endometriosis when you have a frozen pelvis where you cannot identify clearly, for example, the ureters. If we use this system, it helps you a lot, and you will see now the liver completely colored in green, showing that the ICG expression is through the hepatobiliary system. And then this is the picture that we have, the liver expression. It's very interesting to see the green liver as after intravenous injection of our dye. So it's why it is also used for hepatobiliary surgery in a beautiful way, as you can see on this example. Well, the ICG application in oncology is becoming more and more a standard. Remember, in the old times, we performed the complete lymphadenectomy to define the extent of the disease, and also with a therapeutic goal. We are working here on the left pelvic lymphadenectomy. You can see the obturator nerve. We remove all the lymphatic tissue following the landmarks, not going below the obturator nerve. but as you can already now understand that this complete systematic approach to pelvic lymphadenectomy in comparison with the sentinel lymph node approach, this technique is much more aggressive, and it is associated with some important complications like lymphedema, like lymphocyst, as I'm going to show to you. Well, this is just an example. So the sentinel lymph node concept has been implemented more and more. That is the first node that receives lymphatic drainage from a tumor, as I said, has been applicated in different tumors. Uh, and Cabanas and many others have been the pioneer in its application. In fact, the first use of ICG used the technetium, the radionuclide, what needs a room, some special logistic conditions, making it more time consuming and expensive. After came the blue dye, but there are some common adverse effects that include the transient discoloration of the skin and urine and a decrease in pulse oximetry readings due to the colorimetric interference, and also it is rarely associated with anaphylaxis, and because of this became interesting, and after several experiences in different centers like in our center, the benefits of ICG became very clear, and it has replaced the use of radioactivity in oncology for sentinel lymph node application. In fact, it reduces the time of the surgery. It improves the lymph node detection, allowing the surgeon to make a minimal incision and prolonging eye identification rate for hours. And if you take a look on PubMed, you will find more and more publications and studies validating the use of this technology in oncology. Another case, this is using the previous system, not the Rubin system that I have already showed you some videos, but nevertheless, it is the principle of fluorescence emitted by the sentinel lymph node colored by indocyanine green. You see, we try to identify the lymph node, and then we make a dissection and we remove it. As you see, a very gentle dissection, trying to be precise and trying to reduce as much the trauma, the surgical trauma. And if you compare this approach with the complete pelvic lymphadenectomy that you have seen previously, it's very easy to understand that this approach is much better for the patients. Another example with the old system, the blue, but anyway, you see the lymphatic mapping, and the lymph nodes are being identified, are removed by this approach. Starting by cervical cancer, the bilateral detection rates using ICG are much higher in comparison with the blue dye or even the technetium together with the blue dye. As you can see, the bilateral detection using ICG is higher. So, in fact, we are speaking about a good alternative that is accurate, that is safe, that is reproducible in patients with cervical cancer. The endometrial cancer is a very clear indication. You have read the recent paper published in the New England Journal, a review article about endometrial cancer, and they clearly speak on that paper about the use of ICG for sentinel lymph node mapping in endometrial cancer. I recommend you to read it. In fact, it is something that brought positive input in the endometrial cancer treatment. You know that is a tumor very common and due to several lifestyle risks like obesity and diabetes, like hypertension, the endometrial cancer is very common in Europe, and the United States is really common. And also I put this picture because the ICG fluorescence is even better in obese patients, and many patients with uterine or endometrial cancer are obese. So the fluorescence delivered by the indocyanine green, by the lymphatics, and by the sentinel lymph nodes, it's helpful in obese patients, like you can see in this data. In comparison with the blue and with the blue together with the technetium, the ICG is better for obese patients. This is an interesting paper by the team of Pedro Ramirez in Texas. The role of indocyanine green in sentinel lymph node mapping in gynecological cancer. And they speak about different applications, cervical cancer, endometrial cancer, and they compare the ICG with the blue, and in all the cases, the ICG was better. Also, speaking about oncology, it's important to know the concentration of the ICG, and there is some controversy between different groups, but the ICG concentration is about 1.25 milligram per milliliter. So this is what we do in our center. This is what has been done in other centers in Europe, like the Bern of Michael Müller. There is an agreement in optimal ICG concentration. As I said, it varies, so we can find on the literature different concentrations. Also, where is the most effective place for injection? We do, as I said, at 3 and 9 o'clock. You have to pay attention that the ICG should be injected before the placement of uterine manipulator, if you use a uterine manipulator, or before the docking, if you use a robotic approach. In laparotomy, the injection time is performed before the incision, and when endometrium is the place of injection, the tubes are sealed before starting the injection. This is very important. How much time should we wait to start this section? Most of the studies vary between them. We consider this 10 minutes. This ICG is even safe for pregnant women. There are some case reports that the ICG sentinel lymph node mapping seems to be feasible in pregnant cervical cancers, and also, as we did in our center and we published in 2015, if we combine the mini laparoscopic approach together with this ICG technology, we can reduce the invasiveness, like this video article paper published by the team of Fabio Ghezzi. You see smaller mini laparoscopic instruments, and using the ICG technology for the endometrial cancer approach. This is the goal of reducing the invasiveness of minimal invasive surgery, and you see that the node colored by the ICG fluorescence. The vulvar cancer, we have also this system for open surgery. the Victim system, the Victim technology, as I will show you, is this system. In fact, you have a scope and you use the same camera that you use for technology. It is an interesting and feasible method for sentinel lymph node mapping, even with vulvar oncological surgeries. This is the Victim system that has a 0-degree or 90-degree scopes that gives you a beautiful picture, high definition. Even you can have 3D imaging, and combining with ICG, it's a benefit for the patient and can increase the efficiency and the safety of our surgical approach. In ovarian cancer, there are few studies, but of course, further investigation is necessary to evaluate the possible applications of this new technology for staging the patients with early stage ovarian cancer. Then they inject the fluorescent tracer in the ovarian ligaments, seems feasible and promising. Then there are other studies, but now I want to focus on endometriosis. Endometriosis is a very common disease that affects more than 10% of all women of reproductive age. And then if we have a system that helps us in the surgical approach, and we know that in many times we find frozen pelvis, we find distorted anatomy scenarios, and then if we have the possibility to get this image guided surgery showing us, for example, here the ureter, it can improve our approach. For example, in ureterolysis, this is an old video using the previous imaging system developed by Karl Storz, but you will see the evolution and the innovation that we have nowadays offered by this Rubina tower, in fact, increases and improves our approach. This is the clinical challenge that we have in endometriosis rectovaginal nodule surgery. Many times it involves the gastrointestinal tract in 5 up to 12% of the cases, and mostly includes the rectum. There is no consensus in the techniques between the rectal shaving, discoid resection, segmental resection of the bowel. There is the risk of the fistula. The shaving is associated with 1.3%, discoid resection 3.6%, and the segmental resection with 3.9%. And many times this fistula happens because of inadequate tissue perfusion at the end of the surgery. So this ICG indocyanine green use may improve the outcomes and reduce the risks associated with the less vascularization of the bowel. For example, in the rectal shaving, this is a video from
In the video, we see the surgical stage right after the rectal shaving. You can see the anatomical landmarks, and also coagulated areas of superficial tissue are marked.
Of the shaved
At this stage, the patient was injected intravenously ICG according to protocol.
In the coagulated area,
upon switching to the fluorescence imaging camera mode, we can identify the uterus and the right tube for orientation.
A fragile area, you see there is a burn use of so
we can identify
that area can be recommended to make
these areas and are not part of the rectal, so we assume we have
fragile. This is another study for the team of Mabruk. about the use of the ICG during the bowel resection for deep endometriosis. In fact, as I said, they inject ICG intravenously during the surgery for rectal sigmoid to assess the perfusion of the bowel and select the transection line. In fact, it is quite useful, as you will see. I also wanted to share with you our study about bowel anastomosis leakage following endometriosis surgery, an evidence-based analysis of risk factors and prevention techniques that I recommend you to read and take a look. It was published in our Journal of the European Society of Gynecological Endoscopy, Facts and Views. So, in fact, most of the times the complications happen because of inadequate bowel vascular perfusion, and there is an anastomotic leakage that can happen between 1 and 6% of the cases. And this is the most frightful surgical complication after low rectal resection. A number of risk factors have been identified, include the proximity of the anastomosis site to the anus, impaired vascularization, as I said, and despite the important progress regarding technical equipment and surgical techniques, is still one of the most important complications that can occur. It may happen between 3 and 90%, and if you see the mortality rates, it's something very scary, and we have to pay attention on it because it may result in the death of our patient. This is another case of rectovaginal endometriosis. You've seen both ureters on both sides already colored by ICG. We can easily identify the ureter's pathway. They are beautifully presented on both sides. We are dissecting the rectovaginal area following the strategy, and you will see that this approach is very helpful. This case was an indication for a segmental resection. In fact, there was a bowel stenosis, so we perform the approach that we always do for bowel endometriosis, that is different in comparison to bowel tumors, to bowel oncological scenarios, because in endometriosis we are much more conservative towards the irrigation and towards the nerves. This is the ureter colored by ICG. You can see it almost from the bladder up to the kidney. We are doing the segmental resection using the linear stapler, and many times it's quite tricky to take the bowel, and we have to avoid the other structures that are surrounding, like the ureter, as you can see. And then if we have this real-time information telling us where is the ureter pathway, in fact, it's an important benefit that we should take advantage of it. Now you will see the irrigation checking of the bowel loop. You see, after the linear cut of the bowel, we are using now the intensity mapping technology of the Rubina system to check the irrigation of this bowel loop. If we use the monochromatic approach, we can see even better the area that is well irrigated and the area of the bowel that is not well irrigated. So when we make our anastomosis, we can follow this information and make an anastomosis of the well irrigated areas in order the healing of the anastomosis happen in the best way, and we don't have anastomotic leakage, and we don't have a fistula or rectovaginal fistula. But just to show you how we do, we use the suprapubic trocar to make a very small incision. Many times these women are quite young, and if we put the scar low and make a small incision, we can offer an important cosmetic benefit to this woman. You see, again, we are checking the irrigation of the bowel loop using the overlay setting, but we can also change to the monochromatic or to the intensity mapping to see. You see now monochromatic is one of my favorite settings because you can easily identify the irrigation of the bowel loop, and you can see where you can cut. And of course, now we put the head of the circular stapler, the machine, the anvil, and then we make our anastomosis in a good way. I will show you how we do. We try to respect the roles, trying to check very carefully the lines and to avoid any distortion or any torsion in the anastomosis. And then we check the double donuts of this anastomosis, and now we inject intravenously the ICG, and we can attest the quality of the vascularization in the anastomosis area. You have seen the liver colored by green. Remember that the ICG is removed from the body by the liver, by the hepatobiliary system. And in this monochromatic, you can see that all the area in the anastomosis is well vascularized. This is very important to avoid any leakage or any fistula. Well, another example showing you the benefits of this technology. For example, here we are making the ureterolysis on the left side, trying to dissect very gently the left ureter up to the left parametrium, and you will see that some moment we had a bleeding on that area. This is the ureter colored by green, and this bleeding was quite abundant, you see, and we try to stop this bleeding, but we are very close to the ureter, so we have to apply bipolar energy in a pulsatile way, but at the same time try to avoid any thermal injury of the ureter using the suction irrigator device. But this is just an example that if we have the possibility, like we are seeing now, to see the ureter in a clear way, we can be safer in our surgical approach, and then we can avoid any complication related to the bowel. This is just an example that this ICG technology undoubtedly there is no doubt that it gives us safety in our surgical approach. This is another example, total laparoscopic hysterectomy. This is the left ovary endometriosis. We are performing the ovariolysis, trying to free the left ovary from the this attachment, and you can see the ureter just behind the ovary. We are performing blunt dissection, but you will see that when we inactivate the fluorescence, it is very difficult to identify the ureter pathway, because if there is bleeding and if there is inflammation, if there is fibrosis, we know that the peritoneum is not very transparent, so we cannot see, you see, very difficult to identify the ureter. We don't know that the ureter is there, and if we coagulate and if it starts to stop the bleeding just above the ureter, can be dangerous and we can cause thermal injury. But with this technology, it's very clear to identify the ureter pathway. So again, another example that shows us the usefulness of this ICG technology. This is another video, but using the ICG technology in other approaches, but just to show you that it's very relevant to check the bowel irrigation. In IRCAD, we are doing a lot of studies since many years about the benefits of using ICG for bowel perfusion, and there are no doubts that we can take advantage of it. I also like very much this picture that we normally do at the end of our procedures when we do a bowel segmental resection or even discoid resection. We go with our scope at the end, really at the end, we go with our scope through the rectum, and we check the fluorescence of the anastomosis to be sure that the anastomosis is okay. Just to share with you an interesting information. These are other studies about different applications of near-infrared intraoperative imaging. This is the study of Mabruk that we have already spoken about, and these are other examples of using robotic technology for endometriosis using the ICG technology. Most of the times the endometriotic nodules are fibrotic, non-vascularized, and it's simple to identify the disease. So I want to show you another study from the team of Clermont-Ferrand about the identification of nodules of endometriosis by this technology. Another interesting application. Another study that you can see from the team of Gemelli by Professor Giovanni Scambia to check the vascularization of the bowel anastomosis after segmental resection, also confirming the role, as you have seen in my videos, after or during ureterolysis and the parametrial deep infiltrating endometriosis. However, its application for endometriosis is still under research. Other studies from the team of Sarah Accioli also are interesting, and I recommend you to take a look on it. But more and more we have these benefits, other indications, and I'm almost finishing my talk. In hysterectomy, we are using it more and more. For example, this is a technique we do for identifying the ureters. We go by cystoscopy with a 7 French cannula, and we just go in both ureteric meatus, and then we inject 2-3 centimeters the stents, and we have this final effect that I'm going to show you. You see there the ureters on both sides, is beautiful to know the uterine artery there, the right ureter. When we approach the posterior broad ligament leaflet, we can see clearly the pathway of the ureter. Many times we can also identify the bladder. In some cases, the bladder dissection can be a bit challenging after C-sections or after bladder endometriosis surgery. So if we have this system, can be helpful and can give us more information, real-time intraoperative information that can be interesting for our approach. Another case, the same thing.
Stand, insertion, filling and cut of the structures.
We inject
making the tent,
the ICG
ureters in order we can
and the ureter is very
section.
clear. But
The uterus and
of course, most of this has already been said. For checking the vascularization of the vagina, the vaginal cuff, we know that the vaginal cuff dations can happen because sometimes with the use of too much electrosurgery can impair the irrigation of the vaginal cuff. And if we have this system, we can check after injecting intravenously the ICG, the irrigation of the vaginal cuff. Some studies about the use of ICG to determine the uterine vascular perfusion at the time of radical trachelectomy, also for preserving the ureteric branch of the uterine artery during a radical hysterectomy to avoid complications like ureteric fistula or some urinary complications. Finally, contraindications to the use of ICG has been established, like iodine allergy, pregnancy. You have seen, I presented to you some studies from Bern that is not a contraindication, is quite safe. Liver disease, uremia, or previous anaphylactic reaction that has been described in an old paper from 1994 in ophthalmology, 1 out of 42,000. It means that it's much safer in comparison with the blue dye like methylene or patent blue. So we are speaking about a safe, innovative and less invasive approach that gives us intraoperative real-time information and anatomical navigation. It is simple, logistically much easier than the radionuclides like the technetium, and is established for clinical use, is cost-effective in comparison with the other approaches. This is my message. This is what I wanted to say. I am completely available to answer to your questions. Please feel free to put your questions. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Professor Helder. I think it's very beautiful and give more informative about the ICG injection. We will know the advantage of the ICG. Do you have? I will ask the floor that. Do you have any questions for ask the Professor Helder? Okay, let me ask you some question. Because I know the advantage of the ICG that you inject to the intravenous to see the intricity of the ureter or the bowel. How much area, unstained area that we need to repair or need to do another operations? Just small area or a larger area that we need to do suture or cut it and repair.
I'm not sure if I understood the question. A large area or smaller area to repair?
How much area that we need to do the surgery to correct the unstained area that prevent the fistula in the further?
Yes, to prevent the fistula, as I presented in my videos and in my slides, it's very important to check the color of all the anastomosis area in the bowel. Of course, it also related to the distance from the anal verge. If it is a lower anastomosis, the risk is higher, but also should be higher our attention and our care to check the vascularization of that area. And using this ICG technology, if we inject the ICG intravenously, after a few minutes, we can see the bowel irrigation. Many times we start to see the ICG fluorescence in the promontorium, is the first area, then it goes down through the bowel loop, and we should not regret to spend some time looking carefully using the fluorescence technology, all the 360-degree anastomotic line to avoid the fistula, to avoid the leakage.
Yeah. I mean, after you do the surgery and you want to check about the intricity of the bowel, that your video will show that after you do the DE excision of deep endometriosis and exposed to the bowel muscular layer and inject the ICG after that to see some area that cannot stain the ICG. My question is how much of the area that we need to do the surgery to correct, or we just leave it and wait and see after in the future they will have.
I understood. Now I understood. Of course, I've showed that paper from Clermont-Ferrand where they did the shaving, and the shaving removed the serosal part and exposed the muscular part of the bowel. There is no consensus about the area that we should repair with 2 or 3 stitches, or we need to make a resection. But in our practice, what we do, if it is area until 3 centimeters, we make stitches, reinforcement stitches, and then we check again, injecting methylene blue through the bowel, or even the ICG again, to check if that area with muscular or serosal fragility became well reinforced. But if it is a very large area, sometimes we go for discoid resection using a bigger discoid, depends on the area, but if it is more than 3 centimeters, sometimes we use a circular stapler of 33, and we try to make this discoid resection to avoid the fistula or the leakage associated with that fragile area that I think you spoke about.
Thank you, Professor.
So I would like to ask about the injection. You do the injection in the ureter, right, via cystoscopy? And,
yes.
And how long does it last? I mean, the color, the ICG color in the ureter, is it last long, or you have to put the stent inside or not, or just inject the ICG?
In the ureteric injection by cystoscopy, the fluorescence stays for a long time. I never, and we have long cases, but I never needed to inject again. It stays easily for 3 hours. What can happen is if it stays more than 3 hours, our feeling, but of course we are still studying about it, is that the definition and the precision of the ureter becomes a little bit distorted because the dye starts to infiltrate the ureteric adventitia. But anyway, we still can easily identify the ureter's pathway, but up to 2 hours, 2 hours and a half, and I believe much more, the fluorescence stays, and we don't need to put it again.
I think we have some question from Professor Kongsak, my boss.
Thank you, Professor. You have a very informative lecture. I would like to know that how many prominent adverse drug reactions that you found in your patients?
Up to now, no allergic reactions. I think at the beginning we needed to develop the cystoscopy ureteric injection technique. Some patients it's easier, other patients is not so. But what I recommend is to use a 30-degree cystoscope or 70-degree cystoscope. But we gynecologists, we are very used to perform hysteroscopy with a 30-degree scope, and so it's not difficult to make it, and it's 5 minutes if we get used to make it. But just to tell you that in the first cases we are challenging to use this technique, but only this. Apart from this, we didn't have any side effects concerning the ICG use.
Thank you very much.
I would like to ask about the sentinel lymph node, about the timing. You said 10 minutes, right? You start to do the sentinel lymph node. But this is the first side. If you start with the right side, and it may take like 10 or 15 minutes. So when you move to the other side, the left side, do you have the problem of it's all green all over the place or not? Because it will be like 20 or 25 minutes already.
Yes, it's a good question, and the literature, the 10 minutes is to start. Of course, the literature speaks between 10 and even 30 minutes. It changes, but apart from having a larger lymphatic mapping and more colored lymph nodes, what is important is to identify the first one. And after, if we spend 20 minutes to remove on the right side, we move to the left side. Of course, more lymphatic area is mapped, but we have to follow the first node colored and the one that is that comes from the primary tumor.
So you have to start with like the internal iliac and then obturator and then external, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I think our time is limited. So please give a big hand to Professor Helder. Special thing for him because I know this time is early morning in Portuguese, and he just prepared to give some lecture for us since 5 a.m. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. It was
Bye-bye.
a huge pleasure. Greetings to Thailand.
Yeah.